our next one is going to be, I can see the official title. It's about green screens, but the official title is Advanced Keying Workflows. Advanced Keying Workshop with Continuum. So we're going to be looking at Primatte Studio there with Peter McAuley. So hello, Peter. Are you with us?
I am indeed, sir. How are you, Ben?
You are indeed. I'm very well, thank you very much. And you are in sunny Boston, I see.
I am in sunny Boston. I'm looking outside. Looks like sunny and about 80, I think.
Excellent.
How are things over there,
It's a
Ben?
little. It's the end of Danish summer, so we're raining, and it's freezing. So it's great. This is a truly global virtual IBC. This is obviously one of the things that is always nice about these shows is being able to get everyone together into one place. We can't physically do that at the moment, so this is this is the next best thing. So I can see you've got your waffles on your table, both of you. So that's nice. So we're definitely getting into the Dutch spirit there.
That's right.
Peter and I both have our basses in our background as well. Peter has his bass.
Gotta have that
guitar over on that side. There we go.
That's right. Yep, gotta have it in handy reach in the living room.
Absolutely. So every time there's like a tiny render break, we get to play a little bit on the old guitar.
I was doing the render walk last night, Ben.
Oh, that's it. For those of you who didn't win a prize in the last session, we actually have something that's even better than a prize. It's a 1-week sale where you can save 25% off all of our VFX products. That is Sapphire, Mocha Pro, Continuum, Silhouette, Optics, new licenses, renewals, new subscriptions, bundles. You want it, you can save 25% on it right now. So this is available until Friday, the 11th of September. So use the code at checkout. I've just been told save 25. That's the promo code you want to be using. So you can also see full terms and conditions of that at borisfx.com. I just want to say thank you very much.
What an amazing deal, Ben.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is. 25% off. And this is the perfect time for it as well.
Totally.
You might actually be able to win something as part of our competition as well. So we are giving away over $40,000 worth of prizes for our virtual IBC, including software and a lovely loaded Dell Precision 5750 laptop to one lucky winner. I also want to thank all of our other sponsors we have, including Acoustinos, Isotope, Action VFX, NVIDIA, Adobe, School of Motion, AMD, Avid, SGO, Dell, Foundry, Future Media Concepts, HitFilm, and Vegas Pro. So yeah, absolutely join in the competitions right now. BorisFXLive.com to sign up there. You can also add your voice to the chat there as well, and on our YouTube chat. So as Peter's going to go through a presentation now when we're going to be looking at
keying and compositing.
Sorry
about the funny face. But yeah, it's like we're going to take a look at well, sometimes it is. Now we're going to take a look at some keying and compositing techniques in After Effects today. It could be any host I'm showing it in After Effects, but it could be any supported host, and that's After Effects Premiere. It could be, Avid Media Composer on the OFX side. Could be Resolve or Nuke or any of these hosts. We support them all. Mac, Windows, doesn't matter. It works just the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, so looking forward to having a little look at that. Get your questions in, everyone. Peter is the product manager of Continuum, so if anyone knows this product, it's going to be him. So this is I was going to say it's a unique opportunity. It's not unique. We do it twice a year. It's an almost unique opportunity to ask your questions to Peter here. So I think without any further ado, I think let's get on and have a little look at it, shall we?
Let's kick it off.
Let's go.
And this can be defined in multiple ways. As you can see here on the left, it's being shown in a 2D diagram. On the right-hand side, though, we see two little images that are 3D in their appearance, right? One's a cone, the other is a cylinder. And these are showing what color would look like if it were in a predefined 3D space. This is really useful because now we can see visual descriptors of what is hue. So that's the area that's going around the top of this cone. And then what is value, that's going from dark to light, bottom to top on the cone. And really importantly for us, going out from the center of the cone to the edge is chroma. So chroma is also referred to sometimes as saturation. They're not exactly the same thing, but they're very similar. So with that, let's go over into the next comp, and we're going to start working with what is called Primatte Studio. And Primatte Studio, for those that don't already know, is a 3D keyer. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's all going to become very evident in a second when we start working on this shot. So there are essentially two kinds of keyers in this world. There are 2D keyers, and they sample a single color, and that's it. Then you can adjust the density, balance, and lightness around that sampled color. But you can't sample additional colors. You sample one pixel value. And then there is Primatte Studio. And Primatte Studio can sample many pixel values. So this is why it's a 3D keyer. So let's have a look at what a single color keyer can do. I'm going to enable the BCC chroma key filter, and I'm going to click on the color sampler tool and select green from this shot. And we can see that the green color has indeed been sampled out, and it is now rendered with transparent pixels. So as I mentioned, you can adjust the density, balance, and lightness of this via these controls, and they do some things to help out the key, and really they work for some shots, but for others, no, not really. But the big thing that I'm getting to here is we could only sample that one pixel value of green. So let's turn that off, and here's another example of a single color keyer, which is Key Light, built by the Foundry and published by Adobe. It's included in every seat of After Effects, and you can, again, sample a single color. And then you can adjust the gain of that color, and you can adjust the screen balance. You can see it shifting toward blue or toward red. And then there are other ways to augment this result, such as a clipping tool here, which is essentially a levels control. So you're just leveling back that key. But that's about it. I can't sample any other colors. So let's have a look at Primatte. There it is. Let's turn it on. And with Primatte, we get this handy toolbar. So let's bring our handy toolbar over to the left of the screen. And there are a couple of things at the top. There's this auto analyze, but I don't want to auto analyze this. I want to manually sample it. So I'll go to manual sample, and I'm going to choose point, and I'm just going to click once like that. And now I've sampled that color with Primatte, and this is the result that we get. But what's really cool about this is that I can now add colors to this key. So I'm going to click on clean background, and now with the same point tool selected, I'm going to drag over here. And now you can see I'm just building up this key and getting more colors into it. In fact, if I needed to sample red, I can click here and sample red as well as green. So now you can see why this is a 3D keyer. Yeah. Let's go back into this first chart, and you can see that we're just taking chunks of data out of the color chart here. And I was able to take discrete chunks, so I could take red and green in the last instance that I just showed you. So how cool is that? That's why Primatte is so important when you are keying. So let's have a look at some real world examples of Primatte and get to using them on some shots. In my next example here, this familiar shot, I started actually with just this raw shot, and I keyed it out. So when I keyed it out, I produced this fine result. Let's drag through. It's just a pre-rendered example that I'm showing you of the comp that I'm actually going to work on for you. And what's the difficult part of this shot? One is it's got a lot of noise. I mean, there's like noise all the way through her tunic there. It's going to confuse the keyer. She's got some very fine hair, like super fine hair strands. And also, she was shot in the studio and then composited against an outdoor shot. So we're going to have to balance the foreground to the background. And we can do all of that inside of a single instance of Primatte. So let's go ahead and do that and just apply Primatte to the shot. This time I am going to auto-analyze it and let Primatte figure out what it thinks is a good starting point for the key. So it sampled a pixel color of green in this shot, the predominant value. And now we're going to have a look at the key. Well, I can see that I've got nice transparency in the background, and the foreground looks fairly opaque, and the color changed a little bit. If I just toggle this on and off, there's the green tunic. It's a little darker, but you know, it looks like a good key, right? Totally wrong. Let's click on matte status, and I can see now that 3 things are jumping out at me. 1, I've got black pixels. 2, I've got gray pixels. 3, I've got white pixels. And what does this mean? Well, the white pixels are fully opaque, and they're going to hold things back. The black pixels there are going to be fully transparent. And then the gray, well, this is pretty much everything from a value of RGB1 to RGB254. And we want to like try and reduce some of this, right, to get a cleaner shot, because this is going to cause, there's the print through of the background and the foreground. This is just not a good key at all. It's a good start, but it's not a good key. I'm going to switch from the point tool to the rectangle tool. I'm going to clean the background, and I'm just going to start swiping away swaths of pixels like this. Remember before, I'm just like adding more colors to the sample that I picked on the first click. And I'm just swiping these away, getting a nice clean result. Now we'll do the same thing with the clean foreground tool. And let's go and clean up the foreground, get rid of these extraneous pixels that will cause print through of the background. And that looks pretty good to me. So we still have some gray here. This is important because we need transparency on the edges where this fine hair is flying off. Let's have a look at the final matte. Well, that looks pretty nice. And scrub through a little bit. Make sure it's looking good on multiple frames. And this looks super nice. Look at that. What's the composite look like though? I'll click on Final Composite, and there's our result. And this looks really pretty good. A couple of issues. One is that there's some remaining spill. We can see it happening in the background there. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit in this shot and pan down and show you a couple of problems. One is the spill on the side of her face. This is going to be an issue because there's a lot of noise in there. Another is the spill that's coming through on the semi-transparent areas of her hair. And then again at the top of her head. And of great importance is the color of her tunic here. It's green and we want it to stay that way. So let's see if we can get around that. First thing I'm going to do is switch back to the point tool. And if I choose this matte sponge tool right here, which is a real cool spill killer, I'm just going to like drag through here, get rid of that spill, and oh, you can see what happened. The tunic was pushed back. I did not want this to happen. So even though I've killed the spill here, I've also killed the color in the front of her, her shirt. So I'm just going to Command Z and undo that. And now I'm going to try this tool here, this spill reducer. So this runs in very fine increments. The first one, this is like a sledgehammer. This one, it's like a fine jeweler's hammer. And I'm just going to go in and start clicking through the same spots in this shot at the top of her hair. Click and drag. So it's doing a snake line sample. Same thing down here. And it's looking much better than it was, but we still have some issues on the side of her face. Now I'm afraid that if I start dragging through that, I'm going to enter a tug of war where I'll be reducing spill, but then I'll be hurting the colors that I want to protect. So instead, I've got another tool in my arsenal, which exclusive to BCC Primatte Studio is called Secondary Spill Remover. So all I need to do is enable this, and instantly I've eliminated all spill in the shot. Doesn't that look great? Okay, so now that we've got our key, I've taken care of any spill issues. The last issue that I want to take care of here is balancing the foreground to the background, right? Because we have a studio shot put into an outdoorsy scene, and that really doesn't work. So I'll just click on color correction. Let's open our color correction tool set, and let's add some saturation to this. Maybe boost this up, kind of like that. That looks maybe something like this is good. Nice. And let's just get a little brightness in there. And add some contrast to counterbalance the brightness shift. And I think that looks pretty good now. So there's one little step remaining, which is what are we going to do to really make her look like she was kind of shot in scene. One thing I'm going to do is use the light wrap function. So I'm going to enable light wrap on edge, and Continue is going to say, hey, I need a background. So I'll go to the background and I'll tell After Effects to give me the background shot that we're compositing against. And let's turn on the light wrap on black view option here from the view section. And we'll zoom in just a little bit and you can see what's happening here. So I'm taking that background and I'm actually wrapping it around the edges of the foreground. I mean, it's a years old, it's an ancient compositing trick, but this ancient compositing trick usually required the creation of a multi-point node and really good compositing knowledge. Filters take the heavy work and the heavy lifting out of that problem for you. So with light wrap on black, let's switch over to Final Composite. And now I have my edge mat all wrapped in. Let's turn it off and back on. And one thing that bothers me about this is the amount of hair loss on the edges. I just want to retain a little bit more than that. So I'm going to into the light wrap edge group. And let's see, I'm going to mix this back with the original at a level of about, say, 50%. And this gives me some light wrap around the edges. It didn't kill off all that lovely hair that we want to see, that nice flyaway hair. And yet we still have a more believable composite as a result of using that feature within the filter. So there's our first instance of compositing, keying and compositing with Primatte Studio. Let's now move on to the next shot, and we're going to get into some other options and features in here, including a brand new, yet to be released feature inside of Primatte Studio. So I'm going to take this shot and make it look like this. Okay, there's the original. There's our finished composite. So let's take the source shot for the foreground and add Primatte to it. And I'll just turn off all the other layers because we don't need to see those right now. Zero interest to us at the moment. Let's click on Primatte. There's my toolbar. And again, first thing is auto-analyze the shot, right? And when I click this auto-analyze button, it's going to sample an average area of green from the background, from the predominant green color, and start the key off of that. But before we do that, let's have a look at some of the issues here. We've got tracking markers in the background. I've got an uneven backing key, so it's very light over here. It's darker over here, darker here. There's a lot of noise in this shot too, and that's going to be an issue that we're going to have to contend with. And loads of flyaway hair. You can see all that. We want to retain all of that stuff. There are other problems in the shot too. She's wearing reflective jewelry. This is going to be an issue. Of course, we can attend to that too inside of Primatte. So let us begin. Here's our Primatte toolbar. I'll just auto-analyze this shot. And again, the first thing I usually do after I analyze is go to matte status, because I know that I'm going to need to work this matte and start like pushing and pulling and deforming the quad color polyhedrons that we're dealing with. I'm just going to get this right just like that. Okay, cool. So as I was saying, when we're working with Primatte, we're creating a series of polyhedrons, and each of these polyhedrons controls a different aspect of the key that we're developing. One of them is the transparency in the background. Another is, of course, the opacity of the foreground. Another one is spill, and the other one is non-spill areas. So it makes four little multifaceted models out of the shot that we're working with in 3D and then composites them together to produce this result. Now look at this. You can see there's the reflective jewelry. I can see her eyes are reflecting back. I can fix maybe a little bit of that. I'm going to go to the clean foreground and just pull a few pixels out of that area like that. Just get that nice and solid. The rest of it, I'm going to take care of with a very special tool called Mocha. So let's go and take care of this print through in the foreground. It's actually this reflection, right? So I'm going to use an inside mask shape. I'm going to click here and enable the Mocha mask. There it is. I'll twirl open the inside mask group and click on the Launch Mocha Mask button to enter the Mocha GUI. So here we are, and I'm going to use the Z and the X keys to zoom in and out of the image, and the X to pan across, right? I hold that key down and I can drag on it. Now, really what I want to do, my objective here is to hold back that reflective jewelry. So I'll just click on this spline tool. I'm going to create a very rough spline right around here. I'll include her eyes and get this earring coming down the right-hand side, and right-click to close that. And let's scrub through to make sure that I'm not missing anything here, because she moves, right? And we can see I need to adjust right here. So I'm just going to marquee select these points and move them as a group. And just drag these across a little bit. And because this auto keyframe is enabled, it's going to animate the mask for me. So there we go. We have our animated mask for the inside section of the key. I'll just close this and choose save. Now we've cleaned up the foreground, fully opaque, looking good. And the background looks pretty clear too. I can see some stragglers in there, and I can take care of that with another Mocha mask very easily. But for the time being, they don't really bother me so much. There's like one or two little peeking out little things. So let's have a look at the final composite at this stage. There it is. Okay, it's looking pretty good. A little bit of spill inside of there. And again, I'll just choose the point tool. I'm going to choose the fine spill control. I'm just going to drag here in the hair a little bit where I can see some spill issues. And that's about what I want to do with that. I'm going to finish it off by adding the secondary spill remover. So I'll just click to enable it. Toggle it back and forth. I can see it's doing some work right down here. It's like fixing up some spill which I had missed visually. So now we have a shot which is keyed off and spill corrected. And let's go and scrub through a little bit. Yep, right. We can see it right there. So basically, I'm going to zoom in and show you one of the problems that I'm seeing with the way the shot is right now. Because of the noise in this shot, we're getting some kind of what we call ratty edges, right? And as I scrub through, you can see that doesn't look too nice, and it's not going to composite well. So it's going to create some jumpiness in the shot. So I'm just going to zoom back out a little bit and enable this new feature inside of Primatte Studio, which is called Edge Cleaner. I'm just going to turn it on. And we can see immediately that I've softened out the edge of the mat here. And it's a little too much. She's looking just a little too soft on the edge. So I'm just going to go into the tools and adjust this down a little bit. So just take the amount down to say 50. And that seems to be a little better. And there's one other thing that I'm going to do inside of these spill controls, which is switch from complement to a softened background, because I think this will also composite a lot better. I'm scrolling down to the bottom of the filter, and I'm going to tell After Effects to use the castle as the background. And now we're talking. I've got some nice edges here. I've kept some fine hair, and I'm not getting that buzzing around the edge of the hair, which I would have had I not used the Edge Cleaner feature inside of Primatte. So that's all very nice. Now let's have a look at it on the background. And there it is. And so we've got this nice kind of Gothic-inspired sepia-colored background in the foreground. It's kind of like Gothic looking in the shot, right? But not the colors. So I just want to reduce these colors a little bit to make them fit in the scene. I'll just drop this down in the stack. So we're actually working with the clip that we've keyed off, and I'm going to turn on my adjustment layers, because on my adjustment layers, I've actually added a couple of different continuum filters. Well, a few. I've got a vignette, two-strip color, fast film process, and a fast film glow, and an instance of AE's curves to try to tone this down and get a better match. So there's the vignette. Here's the two-strip color. Just plumps the colors up a little bit. There's the fast film process. All right, so that really like kind of blends things together a lot better. And this fast film glow just to glow out the background. Now I'm going to switch over to the one I was working on earlier, which is this, because there were two other pieces that I added in here. One was the Colorize Glow, the other is the correct selected color. And I added in these to the shot just to give it a little bit of modeling, a little bit of shape. So the Colorize Glow, let's show you the before and after. There's the before, and there's the after. So just glowing the inside of this shot kind of helped give it some modeling. And this corrected selected color filter, I thought the red was just a little bit too bright down there in her tunic. So I sampled it using the color sampler here. And this creates a matte. And then I went in and I reduced the saturation just a little bit. But watch the effect. On, off. A little too bright, really noticeable. Toned down a little bit, but still red. So that's a nice little feature and correct selected color. Anyway, there's our lovely keyed off shot using Primatte Studio. So let's move on and we'll have a look at some additional problems that can easily be solved by Primatte Studio. Here's another instance where I was using, let me turn Primatte on, I've already keyed this out. Another instance where I was using the new edge cleaner control to try and help with the edge of this person's hair. So I'm going to turn the secondary spill on. Just, get rid of any excessive spill there. Let's turn the edge cleaner off. You can see there's the proper key. This is a good key. And if I turn edge cleaner back on, you'll notice this is an even better key. Off, on. I've got all this fine hair, I've got good transparency, and very importantly, because this is a temporal-based filter, temporal smoothing enabled, no buzzing. So great new feature inside of Primatte. Let's continue on and have a look at a couple of other shots. This one is of particular interest. This is a difficult blue screen shot, I called it. And why is this difficult? Well, number one, have a look up here. There's no even screen to key off of, but with Primatte, I was able to sample off these colors just like I showed you before. So sampling multiple colors in this 3D keyer to produce this transparency I needed in this background. That's one. But in addition to that, I mentioned noise as an issue earlier. Check this out. This is some pretty rough noise. And what happens with this, I'm going to show you a nice technique. What happens with this is that it starts breaking up. And it looks really super ratty and not good at all. So there it is with the background. And there is the clip that we are going to work with. Let me just turn this off and I'll show you the composite that I created using Primatte. Look at that, super sharp. Zoom back out to 100%. Looks beautiful. Let's zoom back in again. There you can see the nice clean key that I got. And I got this because I used a variety of different techniques to reduce noise while still retaining sharpness in the foreground. So, when you reduce noise or you blur something, typically you start losing details. Like I would lose details in this woman's face or this man's hair, or the wood grain and the table that's in front of them. All this stuff would become softened. That ruins the shot, of course, right? We want this to remain sharp. So how do we keep it sharp and still get a good key at the same time? Well, you can do that by doing what I did, which is render out a Luma matte. So I was able to render out this matte on the fly using Primatte by setting it not to composite, but to show the final matte. And then I pulled this in using track matte here of the Luma matte from this shot onto the original source. So actually, let's have a look at this. I'm going to switch this off from final matte to final composite so that you can see for yourself what this looks like and what I'm talking about. Notice up here, I've got a 3-way color grade filter and I've got a noise reduction as preprocessors to Primatte. Let's turn them both off. Primatte as well. So there's our original source. I had this 3-way color key just to brighten things up, give Primatte a better chance at producing a good matte with this dark shot. Noise reduction. So I use the BCC noise reduction filter on that. And what happens there? We start losing some of the very important bits of detail that we needed. I mean, it's not a killer, it doesn't destroy it, but me being who I am, I wanted this to look as best as it possibly could. So now let's add Primatte. And I won't walk you through the keying this out. It's the same thing I did in the last shots, but instead of that, let's have a look at what Primatte was able to do with this. So there's my Primatte Studio result. And you can see, unfortunately, even though I've got a nice smooth edge here, right, I've lost detail in the talent's face. And that is not good. So again, I just switched from final composite in the filter to creating a final matte from the filter. And then let's just turn that off. There's the shot that is using this is the source that's using the shot that we just created as a track matte. And there's our final result. A really nice key developed using an interesting technique with an amazingly powerful 3D keyer. Let's keep moving down and we'll have a look at some other things where Primatte is going to produce us a very nice result, which would be very difficult with other 2D keying solutions. So taking a look at this shot, our first thought is, well, gosh, that must be easy. It's a really bright screen. Well, there are multiple problems with this. One, it's uneven, right? Over here, it's kind of light. Over here, it's darker. Two, the lighting is such that it could be very difficult for Primatte to distinguish, or any other keyer for that instance, to distinguish between her hair and this background, which is close to her hair. But Primatte, did a really decent job on this. And for instance, let's just build it up. I'll drop an instance of Primatte onto our foreground. I'll let it auto-analyze. And by the way, this is a 4K clip that we're working with. And after you auto-analyze with something that has such bright chromacity as the shot that I'm working with right now, this is typically what happens because there's so much spill on the shot. We don't see it because our eyes trick us. But there is so much spill on the shot that Primatte overcorrects and it gives it this warm appearance. We can tune that, of course, using spill. And just to show you what I mean by that, I'll just grab the spill replace amount and I'll just drag this down to 0. And now you see there's the keyed shot with no spill correction at all. So we want some spill correction, but not everything. I typically push this up to 50 or 70 or something like that. And that produces a decent result, even though she's has a pink wash. But we'll take care of that. So again, first things first, matte status. And start cleaning this up. So rectangle, clean background, and start scrubbing through and bending and deforming this 3D model of color that we are working with. There's the background taken care of, and let's go and clean the foreground. And I'll just drag these pixels on our arm and include those. And this, I think, is supposed to be transparent. Let's little spot there. Let's move into the hair just a little bit. That looks pretty good. And let's zoom up and pan over and have a look at the final composite. And oh no, she has green hair. Well, we know how to fix that, right? So just go to the point tool and go to the spill control here. And I can start just gently clicking away on this and reducing spill on the shot. Patience is key. If you take your time to do this right, you won't have to do it twice. So there's a couple of clicks on that, and I think that should give me enough transparency in the spill area for me to go ahead and enable the secondary spill remover, which then took care of the rest of it for me. Isn't that great? I just love that tool. And let's see, on this shot, let me go back to where I was working on it. There we go. And on this shot, we are going to first switch this background to softened background. And now I'm going to go in and set the background to be this landscape shot. That took care of that problem, and does not look great. Truly amazing. So we've taken care of the spill. We've added the background, and she's got like nice fine hair. Everything seems to be working out. A little bit of color correction there will bring her back in line with the rest of the shot. In fact, I'm just going to drag this underneath and show you some toning changes that I made to this. And it's just a little too much, of course. So we'll just go in and mix this back with the original, say about 30 or 40%. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And some fun stuff with some fast film process and curves controls to make this a little bit more of an interesting shot. Let's turn it off and then back on again. So I just added some contrast and color to that, just using a couple of cool filters. So we've looked at some really interesting ways to work on keys, but there's this one last little key that we might need to work on. So this shot, okay, there's the rendered result. This is scrubbed through. You can see it looks pretty decent. Yep. Nice fine hair in there. Everything looks good. And what did this look like? Well, if I turn the filter off, it looks like that. I kid you not. This is a gray screen. So I just, I thought I'd try this out and look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And you may think, oh, you probably tuned that up. Nope, let's do it live. So I'll just grab Primatte. And on this one, we are not going to auto-analyze. And why not? Because there's no chroma. So I'll just choose point, and I'll choose, let's see, set manual sample. I click there, and that's a good start for the key. Even though if we look at matte status, we can see there isn't really much of a key to work with yet. So let's go and clean the background, and I'll start carving away pixels in here. Boom, boom. Look at that. I just want to push them away from the foreground. I'm not too worried about this stuff in the back. Drag this down. And let's have a look at the foreground. Let's clean the foreground just a little bit and have a look at the final composite. And yuck. Okay, so this needs advanced tools. I'm just going to twirl down to the advanced controls, and I'm going to enable the hybrid. And when I enable the hybrid option, of course, the foreground was destroyed. So let's go and clean the foreground, choose the rectangle, and let's go and just clean that up. I'll have a look at matte status while I'm doing that. That would be the wise thing to do, right? And let's see, maybe take care of that, this, and have a look at our final composite. And what do you know? Look at that. A thing of beauty. So we've got this wonderful matte from a gray screen. I just saved this shot practically from the cutting room floor. And you may be thinking, well, what about all the stuff on the outside? Well, that's why we included Mocha, right? So I would go in and choose an outside mask shape. For instance, let's just go and quickly show you outside mask, launch Mocha. And again, Z to zoom back out. And I'll just go and create, say, a rough shape with one of these tools. I like this one. X spline right around our foreground, come back down. And obviously, to finish this out, I would track this in using the award-winning tracker inside of Mocha. But I'll just save this for now and switch this from outside to an inverted outside. And look at that, a finished shot in very short order, which I would say many seasoned professionals would have struggled a lot with that. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today. So the beauty of Primatte Studio and the fact that it is a 3D keyer, not a single color keyer, and that it has all these built-in tools like Mocha for foreground and background masking, edge cleaning, light wrap, spill correction, secondary spill correction, and the list goes on. You saw me using the advanced tool here with the hybrid. So that's about what I have to show you for today about Primatte Studio. There are plenty of tutorials available on our website at borisfx.com, all free, and some really cool stuff in there. So that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Wow, that was really, really amazing, Peter. That last shot. That's a
killer, isn't it?
Yeah. You should have seen the smile that came on my face when
Nice.
you were able to pull that live. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Really,
guys.
really
Yeah,
good.
that's just tremendous. I've been working with Primatte for years now, since we brought it into Continuum, and even still, with all the knowledge that I have on Primatte, the keying knowledge I have with single color keyers, both our stuff and others, I'm still amazed every day when I start working with that, especially with the gray screen, right? Could you imagine that?
Yeah. That was
really gives you a lot of
unbelievable.
It really gives the artist a lot of latitude and confidence, knowing that you can pull a key on poorly lit keys, knowing that you can handle the transparencies and the smoke kind of shots that back in the old day, for me anyways, when I was working as a compositor, you could really spend a full day on one shot, depending on the quality of the key, right? So it's a really nice demonstration you showed.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tool that everybody should have Primatte in there. I mean, you saw it, how we can just use a 3D keyer to key multiple colors, not just a single pixel, and that onto itself is amazing. But then on top of that, the integrated garbage masking for both the inside and the outside is unprecedented. I mean, nobody else has this feature with built-in an award-winning planar tracking application built into the keyer. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, it's cool, and especially systems that don't have the tracking built in, like for an Avid editor or Premiere editor to be able to pull, multiple masks on a key, in one effect without having to stack. That's a real benefit. It might be worth also mentioning for those who are watching that Primatte's actually available on its own. If you're a Sapphire user and you don't have Continuum but you want to add Primatte, you can purchase Primatte on its own if you don't want to go for the whole suite. So yeah, all our products are now available in different options. And we also, just to mention, when COVID hit, we did decide to offer monthly subscriptions for those who don't know. So that's just another great affordable way if you need these tools to bring these tools into your kit.
Yeah, totally, Ross. I mean, you can buy the premium filter. You can buy, a group of keying filters if you wanted more than just Primatte. We have other filters in there like Make Alpha and other ways to augment a key using the multiple effects in the keying suite. And then there's the whole product, right? I mean, nowadays, I think a lot of people, given the inexpensive cost of subscription to this product, it should be a no-brainer. I mean, it's like, what, dollars a day?
Yeah, that's right. Subscription makes things very affordable, and certainly, with the monthly subscription, I mean, it's super affordable. You just bring it in for a project. Of course, we want you to continue that subscription, but even if you had just, one shot or one project that you really need this, or you need to scale up very quickly, it's very flexible in that sense.
Right. Yep. Ben, that shot, I actually got one of those shots from Ben, the truth be told, that second to last shot with a super bright shot, and I saw that first when you gave that to me, and you thought, oh, hey, maybe you'd want to use this in your presentation. I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, it looks great. It's a pleasant looking shot. It seems well lit. So let's give it a go. And drop Primatte on it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to work this.
Yep.
But it was good. It worked out really well.
Yeah. When I did the same shot as well, and that's because it's one that's so deceptive, and that's something that I find quite a lot, is that you have these shots that look like they should key really, really nicely and really, really easily. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, that's pretty evenly lit. I think we can get away with that. And then you actually take it into your edit, and you start to work with it, and you realize that it's actually a lot tougher than you think it's going to be. And that one had something that I don't think you mentioned this point enough, actually, is that it was quite a heavily compressed shot. And we were still able to get, or you were still able to get that result off of something that was really quite compressed.
Yep.
Because not everyone has like a camera that's shooting raw all the time. It's compressed green screens are a fact of everyday life.
Sure, and that's like why I really wanted to use this shot to show one of the new features inside of Primatte for 2021, and that's that edge cleaner option, which is brand new. I mean, it's still not released. You're getting a sneak peek into our future technologies and what will be released when this comes out in October. And if anybody's watching and they're thinking, oh gosh, why would I buy now? Well, you buy now and you get this for free, right? That's the thing. So go for the deal today, and not only will you get the deal on what you would purchase on the retail store today, but you also get that brand new version with the edge cleaner option, which is tremendous. I mean, you saw how important it is and how I could smooth out the edges of the hair, not just on a single frame, but also temporarily. So across time, it reduces that noise, that jittery jag that we see that can be really annoying, and a dead giveaway, and make much more photorealistic composites with this new feature.
Yeah, because it's those sort of things that kind of really give the game away, where you've got clumps of hair that just turn into these weird spider legs. That's the sort of thing you just go, no. And that used to be commonplace, because there wouldn't be the tools that you could use that would be able to do that sort of job in a nice amount of time, especially for editorial, where you're really trying to push through a lot of stuff in a very, very short amount of time. And that's where I think edge cleaner and Primatte Studio in general is giving you a huge amount of advantage there.
It really is, and some people say, well, gosh, how do you think up these things? How did you think up an edge cleaner? Or how did you think to integrate this mocha masking into this great filter? Well, it comes down to feedback from users. It comes down to sitting with people. It comes down to experience and working with the project. I mean, all of us have been, compositing and in this field for decades, and with that, we come to the table with these ideas and problems that we encountered when we were doing this live. And at least, I can certainly speak for myself, and that is the case. And so that combined with great beta testing, and I want to reiterate that because we get some great ideas from the folks that help us on our beta programs. And with that, I mentioned it already in the chat, but I'd like to mention it here again. We would love to invite anybody to come into our beta program. So if you're out there and you're thinking, gosh, I have some ideas about keying and how I can improve that, or any of the other 250 plus filters in Continuum, or ditto for Sapphire, or for Mocha Pro, or for Silhouette, or Optics, all the products that we have. We run beta programs constantly on these things. We're always looking for intelligent people that can come in and help us define and refine the products that everybody will benefit. And so if you are interested in that, you can contact any one of us here, and we can all help bring you into the program. Just a matter of a little sign up, and that's pretty much it. And you get to help us develop products for you.
Yeah, that's really important to note, is that it is a very much a sort of two-way street between users and Boris FX as developers. A lot of this stuff, it doesn't just get created in a vacuum. It comes from people specifying a need, and then trying to work on solutions to sort of fulfill that need there.
And speaking of working on solutions, I'm sorry, Russ.
No, I was going to just agree with what you guys are saying, and I think it's important to all of us at Boris FX that as a company that's developing software, we're not making tools that tell you, the user, exactly how you have to use it. And it's very, very important that we work closely with our customers. You're asking us to help you solve problems, and we're looking for the most efficient way to solve those problems. And that's where products like Primatte or Mocha, it's really about reducing the amount of manual work you have to put into a task. Brian right now is showing the forums online, where you could sort of see this is the Continuum forum, and there's a forum for every product here on our site. So you just go under the support menu at borisfx.com, and you'll find our forums.
And something else I'd like to, thanks for mentioning that. And something else I'd like to mention is that in addition to having this great knowledge for what we want in the product, we also have some amazing minds that are at work behind the scenes in our engineering group to produce these products for us. For instance, the guy that really spent a lot of time working on Primatte Studio, He's actually an astrophysicist. It's amazing. His name is Jason Clement, and maybe we'll see him a little later. But he's just a brilliant mind, the most down-to-earth guy you would ever meet in your life. And you meet the guy, and you think, oh yeah, nice guy, have a chat, like easy conversation. And you figure out the depth of his knowledge and what he's able to do with his mind. That it's just absolutely astounding. I mean, an astrophysicist.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, really. I think if we look a little bit back, because I've got a few questions that we need to talk about as well. Though I had a huge list of questions as you were going through the presentation. I was just going, oh, you answered that one. You answered that one. Oh, you answered that one.
Sorry.
No, it's perfect. It makes my job a lot easier. One of the things that you were going through is that a lot of the shots that you were looking at were pretty challenging. But how does Primatte Studio start to save time on shots that that aren't as challenging, but you need to push through anyway? Where does it fit in there?
Well, you mean like previs, or actually like knocking out like final mats?
Actually, knocking out final, like a number of different final shots in a day.
Right. Well, what I've seen is just there's 3 quick steps that you can do to produce a key in under a minute with pretty much most shots. I mean, you saw some very difficult shots, but I didn't want to show those just because, to show off the power of Primatte and the tool set in there. But for like the easy shots, really, you click auto analyze, you switch to matte status, clean the background, clean the foreground, next.
Yep.
Quick and easy.
And
that's been my experience on many shots. As like Peter's saying, you just drop it on, a couple little clicks, and you're good to go. Not really much playing around or much hassle, and that interface is just so simple. Very nicely designed.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, the toolbar was designed top down to walk you through the generation of a key, and so it's And another thing we thought of, like when we were developing it, was, well, this big spill remover button and this little spill remover button, and they're totally different tools. I mean, the big spill button, I mean, you click it and you saw what happened. I mean, it's just like taking a sledgehammer to the key, and sometimes you need that, but most of the times you don't. And so that's why that smaller button was made smaller physically, so that you see it and go, oh, this must be a smaller level of spill, and it is. And it's just a way to fine tune. You saw I was able to click through and drag and drag and drag and like slowly work on the key. And I mean, I think that's one of the big things that we have to remember here is that patience is key in all of this stuff. I mean, obviously we want to knock stuff out as quickly as possible, but just spending that extra minute thinking about it and thinking, what can I do to improve this shot? It pans out in the end. It really makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with that in mind, where do you like denoising? How important is denoising a shot before you take it into Primatte Studio?
That's a great question, Ben. It actually can be of the utmost importance. So there's a little denoiser in there. It's down at the bottom in the advanced controls, and from my perspective, I don't really use it that much. I think it's a bit rough. I'm not a huge fan of it. So instead, if I've got an ultra noisy shot, like 422, 421, something like that, where like there's a lot of compression, or some low light shot where we're getting some of that low light noise creeping in and that we have to deal with, well, I'll use the technique that I employed on, I think it was the third to last shot there, the fourth to last shot, where what I'm doing is I'm actually going to create a matte. I'm not going to create a composite with Primatte. So instead, what I would do is I'd pre-treat it. So I'm going to pre-blur or apply some noise reduction tools to reduce or suppress as much noise as possible in that shot. And I'm not concerned about like the sharpness or the detail of the figures or people's faces or any other aspect of the shot. All I'm concerned about are the edges and the key and getting that down as smooth as possible. So to do something like that, I'll use noise reduction, or I'll blur it. I'll do whatever I need to do to get a smoother edge. Then I'll key it, and then I'll just set it to produce a final matte instead of a final composite. And then I'll use a track matte to key off the shot below it. So there are loads of techniques, but that's just probably the one I would use the most.
Yeah. In fact, I was actually really happy when you showed that technique, because, that always used to be a mainstay, because, the keyers weren't as good as, as they are now. Probably we didn't have Primatte Studio, 10, 15 years ago. We would
right.
have to, kind of do all these other little fun little tricks just to try to get, passable key. But seeing you do that, and then, showing how the sort of the newer generational tool is doing that, and you can still use that technique, warmed my cockles a little bit. It's probably also, it made me, just while I think about it, things like the edge cleaner and the secondary spill suppression are available as separate keyers. Oh, sorry, separate filters for just that reason. That's again important to mention. Like all of this technology that's gone into the Continuum Primatte Studio, it's not just found within that one plugin. It's actually its own separate thing. So you can use those in your sort of other keying workflow. The ones that you're more sort of traditionally happy with.
Yeah, or even, like opening up a legacy project. So let's say, you worked on something last year when you didn't have Primatte, you had like a decent key out of it, and you've got to reuse the shots, or, you just want to revisit that, you look into it and you think, oh, well, I used a single color keyer on this, and it looks okay, but not great. Well, you can reach into your keying toolkit and drop any one of the other keying filters from that unit, and augment the shots. So, for instance, if and when we come out with the edge cleaner, you'll be able to augment shots with the edge cleaner, even though you may not have keyed them out with Primatte. So, it's very easy to be able to like mix and match filters in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, just one last question. I've seen what the time is. I think Ross had something else as well.
I think we had jumped.
Yeah, sure, Ben. There was just a chat, something coming in off the chat asking about the support in UNS, what we call the upgrade and support plan. And, some people have, over the years, have questions. Some people don't like subscriptions. They want to actually own the product and buy a license. And we have something we call the UNS plan, which, you can buy any of our products. And then we have a yearly plan, which we call the UNS plan, upgrade and support. And as long as you stay current, then you're always going to get the newest release. And we've actually switched in the last year to we're releasing multiple major releases a year. So in this last year, obviously we came out with the 2020 releases last fall. We came out with a 2020.5 releases for all products, and these are not just maintenance releases. These were big releases with very huge features, and we'll be coming out with 2021 for all the products. So if you do own a license of any of our products, I would encourage you guys to look at keeping that UNS plan current, and then you just don't really have to worry about it. You own the software. You can do whatever you want with it. We're not going to take it away from you as far as the subscription kind of difference, but it's a great way to work and make sure that you're always getting new features. And for those on the other side who purely just want to rent or have that subscription kind of plan, we now have subscriptions for annual and for monthly for all products.